everybody, it's Rob. It's time for another Member Talks. This one's exciting. I'm bringing you a friend of mine that I've known for quite some time. Mr. Jamin Mohler is going to join us on Member Talks. Jamin, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, Rob?
Hey, good.
Good.
I know it's been a long time, but yeah, we tried to get you on here for quite some time. You've been pretty busy lately.
I'm hard to track down some days, aren't I?
Yes, you are.
You're persistent, though. I got to give you that.
Well, when you get in the crosshairs, look out.
Yeah. All right. Very good.
I wanted to get you on here and talk with you. I don't know if I'm sure a lot of people know who you are, but I really wanted to just introduce you because one of the things that you are, one of the many hats that you are, is a board member for WSFDA, but you are also the president-elect and will become the president in about a year and a half of WSFDA. And wanted to kind of feature you a little bit as a board member and as a future president. And first off, thank you for being a part of the board, but kind of introduce you to around the world and let people know who is on our board and what we're doing.
Yeah. Very good.
So
yeah, it's great to be on the board.
tell us a little history, because so for those that don't know you, tell us, how did you get into funeral service? What was it that prompted you into this profession?
Yeah, great question. So I grew up in Ellensburg, Washington, Central Washington. Went to Kittitas High School. And when I was in high school, there was a kid in my class who died unexpectedly. And probably that moment was maybe one of the times, I was like 16 or 17 at the time. And I kind of wondered in my own mind how he was cared for, how his family was cared for, how did he get from where he was to where he needed to be, and who walked with his family through that time. And so the wheels started turning, right? And got married shortly after high school, and life happens, and we have 1, 2, 3 children, live in Ellensburg, and eventually moved to Oregon for mortuary school. Mm-hmm. And worked at a funeral home in outside of Salem for several years before moving back up here 6 or 7 years ago, and eventually came to work at Brookside funeral home in Ellensburg and in Moxie, just outside of Yakima. And then the folks who started Brookside retired, and the rest is history.
So you've really had a bit on a fast track to where you're at now. I mean, when I first met you was probably right after you moved back to Washington, back to the Central Washington area. You were director there at Brookside and Moxie. And then the next thing I hear, you're purchasing it. And so that was 2 different funeral homes right out of the gate.
Yeah, that's right. And then, that was kind of an abrupt transition. Dick Knautz, who a lot of people know, and Janet Roy Knautz, who everybody, loves and respects. She got diagnosed with cancer. And so that sale happened very quickly. And then she was cured from her cancer, and she is healthy and happy and involved periodically at the funeral home. But yeah, the expedition of that transaction was because of her health diagnosis.
Sure. And then eventually that worked into another funeral home opportunity to purchase in the area. Yeah,
so that's right. A year to the day later, we purchased Shaw and Sons Funeral Home, which is in downtown Yakima. It's 121 or 2 years old. And they actually approached us. It was owned by a corporation. And I knew the regional manager at that time. And so he called me and asked if we would begin negotiations, and we did. And that's been a good acquisition as well.
Yeah. So that's really just, like I say, the fast track is really a good description, I would say. I mean, you just kind of boom, 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 from director to owner of 2 funeral homes to owner of 3 funeral homes to just kind of moving on.
Yeah, here we go. And I mean, if I'm completely honest, I would say that back in high school at Kittitas, I never had an ambition to own a funeral home. so like business ownership and those kind of things weren't initially part of my dream, weren't a part of what I had in mind. I was more interested in taking care of families and doing what funeral directors do best. And sometimes I sit in my office and wonder how I got here, but grateful that things have worked out how they have.
Good. So your funeral homes, for those of you that aren't familiar with Washington and the setup, Yakima is almost right in the middle of the state. It's kind of the middle point, but a little bit south of the east-west crosshairs. Ellensburg's more towards kind of right in the middle of the state. And then Moxie's just a couple miles to the east, I guess it is,
Yeah.
of Yakima.
That's right. Yeah.
And Yakima, if you look on the map or look it up, they say it's the Palm Springs of Washington. I'm not so sure about that, but at least it looks like the general area.
Yeah, there we go. Let's go with that. You bet.
Not the mountainous part, but
Yeah.
kind of high deserty, kind of high desert situation. Well, as I said, you are a board member. You are the president-elect. You've been a part of all sorts of different committees within the WSFDA and getting things situated, but you got a lot that you do. You're not, I know, Jamin, that you don't want a lot of praise. You're not looking for that. And that's certainly not the kind of the gist of this talk, but you do a lot of stuff for your community. The tagline on one of your funeral homes is "Because we care." And I think that really shows in some of the different events that you've been a part of in your time as owner of the funeral homes. And I'd like to put those out there a little bit to let people know that, it's not necessarily to say copy these, but these are some ideas that funeral homes can do to be part of a community, to be part of no matter what size the community is, if it's small, if it's large. Being a part of your community is what's going to keep your funeral home active and viable. And you guys have really hit the nail on the head with this, with some of the programs. Just kind of going through, I know you posted one just recently on your Facebook page, a comment that I wanted to talk about, the DUI Victim Impact Panel. Tell us a little bit about that, what that is.
Yeah. So if we just back up a little bit in the conversation, and say, I really wish that I could take credit for all these things. I mastermind this whole list of things that we do. But honestly, I really haven't.
Yeah.
We have great staff who are also committed to being involved in the community. And when you do that genuinely, and the community knows that you're here because we care, then you can just fill in the blank with anything, right? It's hard to counterfeit authenticity, right? And it's hard to do what we do from our heart. Like I told you in high school at Kid House, I feel like I was made to be a funeral director, not a business owner, right? I was made to take care of families. And when you have, I honestly believe that. And so when we have the opportunity to serve our community in out of the box, unique ways, I asked our staff this morning how you would define our purpose in engaging the community. And it's like, we just get up every morning to do that. We get dressed in the morning with the idea in mind that we're going to bless some family. And this DUI thing, the gal who hosts that called the funeral home and said, I know you're really involved in the community. And we used to have the victim impact panel at a school. We can't have it at the school or community center because of COVID. But I know that you're set up to host events, and I'm wondering if we can get these folks in there. And so we said we'd be glad to. And the first meeting she conducted completely by herself. The second meeting, she said, hey, Jamin, do you want to come up and dismiss these people and make a few comments? And I was up there, and this thing that you saw on Facebook just came out. Like I hadn't planned that 10 minutes ago to offer to pick drunk people up so they don't drive home, right? And I'm up there, there's 45 or 50 people in the room. And I said, if any of you need a ride, we're going to either pick you up because you killed yourself or someone else, or we can pick you up at the bar and drive you home safely. And so that kind of grew into a pattern where every month we insist that they program the phone number, and they all do to the best of our knowledge. And last week or earlier this week, one of those gentlemen called and needed help. Yeah.
Such an impactful thing, though. I mean, for your community to call, to go out, to be I'm assuming at a bar or something, but to call the funeral home and say, I need a ride, and hear you and your team member go out and pick this person up, deliver him home, you might have saved his life that night. You might have saved countless lives that night. You will never know. But it's that genuine opportunity to just say, look, I'm putting myself out there as a servant of the community. We're putting the funeral home out there as a servant of the community. Use us as need be.
Yeah.
It's such a great thing for what you guys are doing. And you guys got a lot of stuff going on. The Adopt a Senior program, COVID was obviously big in 2020, and seniors really amongst various other groups kind of got shafted a little bit on some of their senior parties and that sort of stuff. High school seniors is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But you guys sponsored that and were able to provide some nice gifts and things from the community to the local seniors that were graduating, so that they could have a little bit more of a memorable graduation than, say, maybe this was the year COVID hit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So lots of stuff going on. I just I want to talk about a couple of other ones real quick, just because I'm just impressed. I really am impressed with what you guys are doing. And I know you said this isn't all you, and I get that. You've got a great staff. I've met most of them, and every one of them has the same attitude of, you know what, we are here because we care about what's going on. And it says a lot. It credits a lot to your staff, to the people that work with you, to the team, to your family, because this is a family funeral home. In fact, it's called a Mohler Family Funeral Home. You've got family members all over the place that are helping with this process.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So my wife is our bookkeeper, and my dad runs our crematory full time. Yeah. My daughter is a secretary, going to become an intern. Asked me in a few years if she'll be a funeral director. So, and then we've got 5 kids behind her. So there's a long lineup. They're waiting in the wings.
Yeah. Get them over that age 18 and get them an internship and get going.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, your family, in the ones that I've met, your dad, when he came to the crematory operator training, I've met your daughter, certainly met your wife a few times, and she was going to join us, but as I understand, she's pretty busy. So she couldn't join us today, but just a great group of people that come together to serve families, to serve communities, and just to be a part of the community. Yeah,
that's really what we're all about. And like I've heard before, you win races with thoroughbreds, not donkeys, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So we have a pretty high standard of staff that we don't always get it right. I mean, we're not perfect, but we do what we can to keep the standard of excellence super high. So when, like last night, Chad went on a house call and the family said, I can tell by the way you walked in our door, this is your calling. Mm-hmm. And that's the truth of Chad. That's my feeling. That's why you probably got involved in funeral service. If it's a job, if it's like I need to pay my bills and the funeral home's hiring, the genuine calling of caring for folks probably isn't as strong as it could be. And so if people are out there listening to this later and maybe they own a funeral home, maybe they want to be a funeral director, as you and I both know, Rob, it takes a special person to do what we do. And not everybody's made for this, and that's okay. I don't turn wrenches, I don't flip hamburgers, but there's nothing wrong with working at Walmart, right? So there's good jobs out there. I don't consider what we do a job. I'll never call it my career. It's my profession. Like, this is what it's not. I don't like the reference to the funeral industry. It's not like we're an airline industry. We're a calling, we're a profession, and it's a very sacred profession in my mind. And so we do what we can to have our staff perform to that same expectation. And they do an excellent job.
And from the time I first met you through today, and I will bet this continues on, it is your passion. And I've watched that and witnessed that in how you've just jumped in with both feet, how you continuously are educating your team, and looking to educate the world on what funeral services are. And so I just commend you guys on what you're doing there. I love the fact that you're a board member with us. I love the fact that you're going to be president at some point. You got big shoes to fill with Jessica, but but at some point you'll take that on, and I know you're going to do great with it. So, Jamin, a couple quick other ones, programs that I know you've been a part of, which I think are just tremendous programs. Under Angels Wings.
Oh yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Under Angels Wings.
Super cool family, Godina family. From a few years ago, they had a premature son die. His name was Angel. And when I met with them to talk about his arrangements, I asked the mom if they have other children. And she said, "Oh yeah, we now have 3 children in heaven."
Wow. Yeah.
So I don't know how you respond to that answer, but it's not probably the one I was expecting. And
Sure.
Just a super cool husband and wife who have a heart for our community. We don't charge for babies. It actually violates our conscience to charge families for any arrangements surrounding the death of an infant like that. And so obviously there was no charge to them either, but they wanted to pay it forward. They said, how can we help the next family or help the next family? And so together we came up with Under Angels Wings, which is a nonprofit organization that helps baby families with expenses outside of the funeral home, maybe cemetery, headstone, jewelry, keepsake, things that the parents would like to purchase but maybe can't. There's funds in Under Angels Wing for that. The happy ending is now they have a little baby girl who they brought to the funeral home and love that little kiddo. And her name's Joe.
Yeah.
So just those relationships that are built out of tragedy through the years culminate in cool stuff like Under Angels Wing.
Is there a way for people listening to this that can contribute to that nonprofit?
Yeah.
Is there a way to donate to that?
Yeah. Under Angels Wing, memorialfund.org.
Under Angels Wing memorialfund.org. We're going to post that on the video so people watching will have that opportunity to, if they want to donate to that.
Yeah, it's a great organization. When the funds come in, we talk to the Godinas about how to allocate those funds. It's not held at the funeral home. It's not held for the Godinas. It's actually a third-party nonprofit that distributes funds to baby families when they need it.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And again, that's not something, I mean, that was a big deal, and that got a lot of publicity. And it's like, I can't even sit here and take credit for that. Like, I don't have a playbook on how to get Facebook hits. It's just like when the Godinas come into your life through divine appointment, things like this happen, and we just do what we can to steward that relationship.
Yeah. You got a big program that you've been working with lately, the Law Enforcement Appreciation Program. I know that's something that's near and dear to you and to your family, the appreciation of law enforcement, especially in today's society where law enforcement does tend to get a bad rap. You guys have been part of that community and have been supporting them. We don't, not to go into a lot of detail on it, but just tell us briefly, if you can, what you've done for some of the local law enforcement there.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Brookside and Shaw and Sons Funeral Home, unequivocally and without any reservation at all, backs the blue, 100%. And that's not a political statement. That's just the facts. Okay. Yeah. We have 6 children. Half of them came from Africa. I went to Africa to bring these kids home with my wife. So it's not a racial statement. It's not a political statement. It's just the truth. And in our community, at least, we're blessed with great law enforcement who do the right thing. There's probably bad apples in funeral service too, right? But thankfully in our community, law enforcement is outstanding. And so we feel a debt of gratitude to those that keep us safe and those that put their life on the line. And so we do what we can. I have Dutch Brothers gift cards in my Suburban. Every time I see a cop, I pull into the parking lot where they're sitting and give them a Dutch Brothers gift card. And it's kind of a thing now when my family's with me. Our littlest guy He wants to go find cops to give gift cards to, and he jumps out of the car and he engages with the police. And I think we train him at a young age. We don't have to be afraid of at least our local community. It's a wonderful experience. And so we do that frequently. This last year at Christmas, we had a little program with the county sheriff's office and the local police departments, just to give back to those who, from the dispatchers behind the scenes to the janitor to the ones in the vehicles, just to show that we do appreciate what they do for us. And really that the sheriff's department called me and said, hey, we're putting gift baskets together. Do you want to make a little contribution? Not much. Can you help a little bit? And then that thing just grew and grew. And the next thing we know, we're on their Facebook pages is presenting them with what we did. And it's like, we're just available. And if you could encourage funeral homes across our state and maybe around the country to just be available, so the sheriff's department knows that they can call and you'll answer. Or maybe it's not the sheriff's department, maybe it's Toys for Tots, or maybe it's some other community-based organization, and do it for the right reason. Like I'm not out there going, okay, now if I do this, what's going to be I'm really good friends with the restaurant in town. It's Yakima Steak Company. Plug for my buddy Jamie. They do great service in there. And we talk frequently because we did a Veterans Day deal with them, where the veterans came in and we bought them steak dinners and a beer, and we co-sponsored that with Yakima Steak Company. And he said, you know what, James, these beers are going to cost, these steaks are going to cost us, but you know what, we're just planting seeds in the community. The veterans will go back next week to Yakima Steak Company because he planted seeds the previous week. Right. So we don't do what we do for the harvest. It just so happens to be that we're planting seeds while we're doing it. Right. Sure. And there may be a harvest, there may not be. But if we can just stay loyal to our calling, it will all work out.
Well, I know we have funeral providers all over the world, especially here in the United States, that watch this show. And I just want to point out kind of what you said. This isn't a kind of look at what we've done, look at where we've been, copy us or anything like that. This is just a way to say, you know what, there are ways to support your community. And all of those will eventually work into people going, oh, I remember Brookside Funeral Home or Sean's son's funeral home did something. So when I have a death, that's where I'm going to turn. I get that part, but that's not the purpose of it. The purpose of it is really just to give back, or as you said, to pay it forward in many aspects. Yeah. And it's that type of attitude. It's that type of service that we need more of. Yeah. Funeral service, the only time you really hear anything about funeral service is in the negative light, or when something's happened. We need to spotlight when something good happens. We need to spotlight when there's a group of people out there, and there's a ton of you. There really is, not just you guys, but there's all over Washington, all over the United States. There's a ton of funeral homes out there, and God bless you all for this. But people are doing things for their community and creating a great personal, positive outlook on funeral service. And they're not getting credit, and that's fine because they're not doing it for credit. But we here want to give you the credit. And so to you, to your family, to your team, we want to say thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for being a part of your community. Thank you for being a part of the association. More importantly, thank you guys for being a part of funeral service.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that what you're doing is just growing a very positive outlook on what we all are a part of.
Yeah.
So for everybody that's out there that's doing these things, thank you guys. Thank you, every one of you.
And you're exactly right. There are a lot of us. I mean, you and I have friends here in Washington State, like Greg Smith in Sunnyside. I spent the morning with him this morning, and it's like, that guy is just quietly going about Sunnyside, doing what his grandpa did, or his dad did, and just like serving Sunnyside so well out of his heart, right? Craig Corbeil, just doing what he does. Russ Weeks, the list goes on. It's not just the Mohler family, right? And I aspire to do what we see in some of our peers around the state. And you're exactly, there's a lot of them. We are very fortunate to have a lot of folks in our state that get up for the same reason you and I do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, listen, Jamin, share with us, what's your email? I bet you will have some folks that want to reach out to you and ask some questions. Tell us, how do we get a hold of you?
Yeah, there's two ways to get a hold of us. Email is Jamin, Jamin, at Brookside Funeral, BROOKSIDEFUNERAL.com, Jamin at BrooksideFuneral.com. And you can keep track of us on Facebook also. Brookside Funeral and Crematory, Shaw and Sons Funeral Home, both on Facebook. Mohler Family Establishments on Instagram. Those are just ways that people can kind of see what we're doing. Not that we set the standard by any means, but maybe inspire somebody to their own program, their own individual ideas.
Yeah, and it just takes that inspiration to take something on your own and make it great and really benefit your own community.
Yeah.
So, well, thanks for coming on. Like I said, I'm really proud to call you a friend. I'm really proud to call you a colleague, and
likewise.
Happy to get you on here.
Yep. You
tell Kara hi for me. Tell her we missed her.
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, very good. And I'll make sure she hears from you.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we'll talk again soon. Yep. Thank you, everybody, for watching another episode of Member Talks. See you next week.
Very good. Take care.